I appreciate you tuning in if you're brand new to my channel. My name is Austin Zaback. I've done over 2,000 wholesale transactions in my career, and how I do things today, how I acquire a deal, how I sell a deal, and everything in between is vastly different than how I've done it in the past. And I'm excited to break it all down for you in a very easy to understand, step-by-step format. So when you're done watching the video, you can go out there and take action. Depending on how long you've been following me or if you're brand new to my channel, you know, I've actually done over $100,000 a month, every month on the month, for almost a decade wholesaling real estate. And I've actually had some months where we've gotten very close to making $1 million in a single month. And one of my goals in 2023 is to actually get to a point in our wholesaling business where we consistently do $1 million a month. In addition to that, we've also flipped a bunch of properties over the years, and we've definitely cherry-picked a lot of our favorite wholesale deals that we figured, hey, you know, we could go in there and make a lot of money if we actually ended up flipping them. And on top of that, we've acquired multiple rental properties over the years, and we're just getting warmed up, okay? Again, I'm 27 years old. I definitely don't have it all figured out, but I know for a fact that if you stay to the end of the video, you're gonna be a whole heck of a lot better off on getting that very first wholesale deal literally within 30 days from when you're done watching the video. And real quick, before we jump into everything, I just want you to know that I've been right where you're at. So if you're watching the video and you're like, Austin, you know, you've done all the deals, you've done everything. Look, I grew up in my grandparents' garage. I didn't have much growing up, right? And I had no idea what wholesaling was. And there was a day and a time where I saw a video on Facebook of a guy in front of a Lamborghini holding a check in front of the bank talking about, you know, doing real estate with no money down, with no credit and all that junk, right? And I thought it was too good to be true, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I learned what wholesaling was, right? I learned the art of being able to go and put a property under contract below market value with a homeowner, and then turning around and flipping the paperwork, right? Flipping that contract to an end buyer for a profit. And I got addicted, right? I was totally hooked because I was the kind of guy where I was like, man, I'm pretty sure I can do that. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, right? I'm not the most talented guy in the world, but I had a hard work ethic. The main thing that I had to really figure out and wrap my brain around was really just the art of finding a good deal, which I knew would come in handy later on as I wanted to do more things in the real estate world, right? Everybody in the real estate world, no matter what type of real estate people are doing, the entire premise of real estate investing, whether it's commercial or multifamily or single family or storage units or whatever, is all about finding a good deal. So I figured in the beginning, if I could figure out how to find good deals in the single family world of real estate and flip those good deals, aka flip the paperwork to the end buyer, then that skill set, right, that very specialty of me doing that over and over and over again and learning that at a high level would add a ton of value to my life eventually when I wanted to go do the ancillary things in the real estate world. And what I loved about wholesaling real estate in particular was the fact that it got me good at running numbers, right? I could know what was a good deal and what was a bad deal the better I got at actually running the numbers. And I think in 2023, a lot of people that are getting into wholesaling are really bad at running numbers. You have to be able to figure out what the ARV is of a property, right? The after repair value. And then you have to reverse engineer and figure out what price do I actually need to get that property at based on repair costs and holding costs and realtor costs and everything that goes in to actually renovating the property. So if the ARV of a property is 500 grand and it needs 100 grand worth of work to get the property to be worth 500 grand, but then I've also got to pay realtor fees and I have closing costs and I have holding costs and I also obviously want to make a profit because I'm not a nonprofit, then I've probably got to get that property somewhere around 300 grand, just ballparking it. Another thing that I love about wholesaling real estate is it allows me to get good at talking to people, which is so important in the world of real estate. So if you're watching the video and you really want to go do your first deal, you're going to get good by the end of the video at not only understanding how to look at a deal, but also just understanding how to structure the deal entirely. So here's how it works. You find a seller who needs to sell their home, and for whatever reason, they're looking to potentially sell it at a little bit of a discount, and you put that property under contract with you as the buyer and them obviously as the seller. And let's just say, for example, you come to an agreement with the homeowner for $100,000. Okay, they agree to sell their home to you for $100,000 cash. And with that, you happen to know that there are a ton of investors out there who would pay $110,000 for that same property in the same condition. And let's just say hypothetically the property only needs 20 or 30 grand to actually get it to be worth the 200. So you obviously know without a shadow of a doubt that there are a ton of investors that would pay 110. Now what I originally thought growing up, like we talked about a minute ago, was that I actually had to buy that property for $100,000 and then turn around and sell it for the $110,000 to another investor. And that is actually not the case at all. And thank God that when I was 18 years old, I figured out what wholesaling was and I got really darn good at it. So what I learned is that all I had to do was just find the deal, right, at $100,000, where the seller, they just wanted to make $100,000 and walk away. For whatever reason, they were in a situation where they didn't want to have to worry about it, they didn't want to have to deal with it or anything like that. And before I actually closed on the property as the buyer, I could actually take my contract and use what they call an assignment contract and sell my contract to an end buyer that I originally had with the seller before I ever even closed escrow. And without ever owning the property for a single day, I could make $10,000 just like that. Or even $15,000 or $17,500 or $20,000 or $25,000 or however much money you think you can make. So let me just tell you how it works really quick, and then we'll jump into how you can actually do it yourself. So the buyer that you found to buy the property is going to bring $110,000 to the title company. And when the deal closes and everything actually is done at the end of the day, the seller is gonna walk away with their initial $100,000 that you agreed to. And the title company is gonna pay you your $10,000. The biggest thing that I really had to overcome and that I had to realize when I was first getting started is that what just happened right there was a win-win. This is not you going out and taking advantage of a seller or you taking advantage of a buyer. The seller is receiving everything that they were promised, right? For whatever reason, they needed to get out of the deal, right? They maybe inherited the property, maybe it needed a lot of work, maybe they lost their job, maybe they're getting a divorce. There are so many different things that could have been happening in that seller's life to where they just wanted to walk away, and you solved that problem. And then with the buyer, you delivered them what was still a very good deal at $110,000 on a silver platter. And they're gonna go actually make money on that deal. They're gonna be able to keep their crews busy. They're gonna have another deal in their pipeline to go ahead and renovate, and they're gonna keep living their life. So it's 100% true, okay? Wholesaling real estate is definitely not a scam. I know a ton of people who do it. Like I said, I've done over 2,000 of these, and we do anywhere from 30 to 50 every single month. So now you're watching the video and you're like, Austin, but how do I go out there and how do I do my very first deal in the next 30 days? And there's really only a couple of things that you need to know to go out there and make that happen. The two main things that you gotta do is you gotta find a deal, like we talked about a little while ago, and then you've gotta find a buyer to buy that deal. And the beautiful thing about wholesaling real estate is you can pretty much keep it about that simple. You don't need to know anything about construction. You don't need to know how to go talk to a hard money lender or go talk to a private money lender or raise a bunch of money or raise a bunch of capital. You don't gotta figure any of that out. And you really don't need to network or do anything like that either. You don't have to have access to a bunch of high-level relationships or people, who are way smarter than you or anything like that. So now we're gonna jump into how you can go out and actually do it, okay? And my favorite way on planet Earth to get a deal, if you're taking notes, is to go right on the MLS. Now there are a handful of different ways that you can actually go out and find a seller looking to sell a property and get a deal done. One of the first ways, and a lot of people do this in 2023, is they go direct to the seller. And they're doing a bunch of different marketing, right? Maybe they do pay-per-click, maybe they have cold callers, maybe they're doing text message marketing, maybe they're putting out a bunch of those bandit signs that you see on the side of the road when you drive. Who knows what they're doing? There's a lot of ways that you can find a seller looking to sell and go directly to that seller. Another way that people do it is they go talk to other wholesalers. So they're looking for other wholesalers, and this is a really popular method right now where I'm gonna go find another wholesaler who probably went direct to seller, and I'm going to just bring a buyer for that wholesaler. And really the third way, which is my personal favorite, is going and talking to real estate agents and getting deals right off the MLS. And you do not need to be a real estate agent to actually go out and do that. You can use all of the free platforms out there like Zillow or Redfin or Trulia or Realtor.com or whatever platform that you have access to. So in all reality, in 2023, wholesaling should theoretically be easier than it's ever been, and I'm pretty much here to tell you that it really is. I remember when I got into real estate in 2014, and it was actually kind of complicated. Like, there wasn't that much tech, there wasn't that many things that you could leverage, and there just wasn't a lot of videos like this on YouTube. There wasn't a lot of people talking about it yet. And at first glance, if you're looking through the MLS, or you're looking through Zillow, or you're looking through one of those other platforms, it might be a little bit overwhelming because you're looking at a bunch of different properties, and that, I know, if you're brand new, can totally be overwhelming. You're gonna quickly be asking yourself, how in the world do I know if I'm looking at a good deal? Like, should I really spend my time and my energy writing an offer on that deal right there? But one of my favorite things about doing this over and over and over again is that you'll very quickly figure out the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. And if you're using the methodology that I'm talking about right now, then you can then go ahead and you can set up a search so every time a good deal hits the market, you're the first to get notified. Me and my team have so many different searches, so when a deal hits the market, we're like the first ones to call the agent and be like, hey, we want to write an offer. Guys, this is like shooting fish in a barrel, okay? This is not rocket science. This is totally the most simple thing you're ever going to do. So don't overcomplicate it as you watch the video, okay? Just take it all in, and I promise you, when you're done with the video, when you go out there and take the action that we're talking about, you're going to get a deal. So one of the things that I'll say about the MLS is that it is very important that you are very quick, okay? Again, there's a lot of competition out there, and I just got through telling you that when a new deal hits the market, that we get notified, right? So if you're in Arizona and you're competing with me, then you've got to be very quick. And there are a ton of tips and tricks on how you can do that, right? Because at the end of the day, analyzing a deal is probably where people spend the most amount of time, right? You know, right now there's about 15,000 homes on the market in Arizona, and you've got to analyze every deal, or you at least have to look at the pictures of every deal, and you have to determine, you know, what might be a deal and what might not be a deal. And the quicker you get at that, obviously, the easier it becomes. And we're going to be launching a coaching program here really soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. And depending on when you're watching the video, go ahead and check in the description down below. It might already be available. Okay, another incredible way to get a deal in the next 30 days is kind of what we were just talking about, but it's a little bit of a different variation. So as you're going through Zillow, Redfin, the MLS, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be talking to real estate agents, okay? Now, one of my favorite things in the entire world to do is to build a relationship with the real estate agent that I'm talking to. Over the years, we've done so many deals with real estate agents where they just continue to send us deals over and over and over again. And what I started to realize a long time ago was, wait a minute, if the real estate agent is direct to seller, right? Then, like we talked about a little while ago, why would I go direct to seller if the agent is already going direct to seller? I mean, just think about it for a minute. If a consumer, right, a homeowner, decides to sell their home, what's typically the first thing that they think of, right? The first thing they think of is calling their agent. So I started to think, okay, an agent has a conversation with the homeowner to sell their property, and it's not actually hitting the market for what, a week? 10 days, maybe even longer? What if I could get that agent to send me the deal before it ever hit the market? Like, what if I was able to see it before anybody else? Would that be valuable? So I went out and I put a lot of time and energy into it. I put a lot of time and energy in building relationships with real estate agents and, you know, following through on what I said I was going to do, right? And making it easy on the homeowner and, you know, just making things very simple, right? And streamlining everything. And now, we have so many different relationships with so many different real estate agents that they're bringing us deals all the time. So if you're watching right now, what I would highly recommend that you do is as you're going through to find that first deal in your first 30 days and get that deal done, right? You've got to also build relationships with the people that you're talking to. Because the entire goal that I have for you watching the video is that eventually you get to a point where you're just waking up in the morning and people are just sending you deals. And the cool thing is too, it also kind of becomes reoccurring for the agent as well, right? The agent actually gets to a point where they kind of know that you're the guy, right? Or you're the girl, And when you go out into the world and they go out into the world, they know that they have an investor that'll get the deal done every single time. So when their clientele is calling them, they're going to think of you when they think or they have a client who maybe wants to sell for cash. So in conclusion, I just want you to know that if you're watching the video and you're a brand new wholesaler, that you 1,000,000% can get your very first deal in 30 days or less, okay? It is not actually that complicated. But if you're watching the video still and you're staying till the very end, then I greatly appreciate you. You might be thinking right now that Austin, it's easier said than done. It's not that simple, right? And I'm here to tell you, it really is that simple. If you sit down after you get done watching the video and you go right on the MLS right now, you go on Zillow, you go on Redfin, wherever, and you just start calling real estate agents and you start looking through all of the different properties that you're seeing online and you find the ones that look like they might be a deal and you call them and you tell them you're a cash buyer or you're an investor and you're looking to buy a property in that neighborhood, I promise you, you will get a deal. And then you start building a relationship with them and you tell them like, hey, if you come across deals that look like they would be good for investors, like I'm your guy or I'm your girl, and you tell them that, and you start to follow up with them, maybe you buy them a cup of coffee and you kind of build a relationship with them, you will be surprised at how many deals get sent your way. And I promise you one thing, in 2023, it's not that complicated to find a buyer, okay? So once you have deals coming in all the time, finding a buyer is not that complicated. You could even sell your deal to another wholesaler. You could use a networking group. You could use Facebook. There are so many different ways that you can find a buyer. I'm not even gonna get into that right now. My main goal for you is to stop watching the video and to actually go make the phone calls that you have to make to talk to the real estate agents that'll send you the deal. And I really believe in the bottom of my heart, if you start doing it right now, that by tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, you can have a deal under contract. And I believe within a couple of days after that, you can take that deal, you can assign that deal to an end buyer, and within maybe a week after that, you can get paid. So there you have it. I greatly appreciate you tuning into the video. Again, my name is Austin Zaback, and I'd love to make more videos just like this one. So if you're watching the video and you have an idea of things that you want me to cover, of how we do what we do, right? And I have a big operation now, and like I said, we do anywhere from probably 30 to 50 wholesale deals a month. My goal is to get to a point where we do 100 a month for $1 million a month, okay? If you have questions on how I'm able to do that or how we're working towards that goal, drop a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already, smash that like button, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.